Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Mitchell Ringos, filling in for Ryan and Riley. A virtual tour was held last night showcasing the highly anticipated new art gallery on Thunder Bay's waterfront. The tour highlighted the gallery's top features and gave perspective on the scale of the building. Joe Sadowski has been following the story and joins us live in studio. Joe?
Thanks, Mitch. Now, while the tour showcased some incredible amenities, the price tag for the big project has risen again to $57 million. As a result, the fundraising committee has put out a call to the community for another $5 million in donation on top of the $2.7 million that's already been raised. The community got a sneak peek at the project that's been in the making for close to 15 years. The gallery is a two-story building that will feature 3 massive display rooms, an outdoor and indoor cafe, classrooms and a lecture theater, a gift shop that is built at the center of the gallery, and hundreds of windows for an open view of Lake Superior and the Sleeping Giant. Newly appointed Executive Director of the Thunder Bay Art Gallery, Matthew Hills, says the new facility will be a world-class quality gallery that's in the making.
People have had a chance to visit the waterfront and even the construction site. They know how incredible the view is, how incredible this facility will be, and especially the ways it'll reach out to community as part of the waterfront and downtown and continue the art gallery's fantastic work in terms of education, in terms of connection to community and being a space that's welcoming for everyone. So the new building will be a fantastic part of that history and continue on our good work.
With phase 2 of the gallery's fundraising process underway, it also marked an increased price tag on the gallery's already $50 million total. The new project total is expected to be another $7 million, including another $5 million that art gallery officials are hoping to fundraise. President of the AWE fundraising campaign, Shelley Crawford, says while the goal of nearly $8 million in donations is steep, she hopes that people will see the lasting legacy that the new art gallery will hold in the community.
Growing every day, and that is going to mean that people see their investment come to life. And I think that there are companies and individuals and families who are going to start to believe that there is a legacy to be built there. So it's tough. We know the size of our community, we know the capacity of our community, but we also know that there are people out there that will find us and we will find them. And they will be able to do this.
Yeah, those are definitely evolving figures, and I think we are looking at different ways around cost savings, but committed to achieving this building. So understanding that there is some fundraising and there is some work to do on that front, but also knowing that we've had great success already to this point, and we will continue with that.
While the construction is well in development, the now $57 million project is expected to be ready by late 2025. And while we are a few years away from the final product, construction on the steel framework will be expected to go up around the turn of the new year, giving the public a better idea of the scope of the project. Joe Sadowski, TBT News.
Thunder Bay police officer has been found guilty of assault causing bodily harm. The verdict for Constable Andrew Franco was delivered today at the city courthouse. It stems from an incident at a city bus shelter in April of 2022, which was caught on police cam video. And a warning to viewers, the footage is disturbing.
What the hell, man?
Nothing. Hey,
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, what are you doing? You can't be drinking in public.
Knock it off! You don't push back on an officer, man.
The man was knocked unconscious and was taken to hospital by EMS, where he was diagnosed with a fractured cheekbone. Franco was suspended by the police force soon after the incident, and the province's Special Investigations Unit later decided there was enough evidence to charge him with assault causing bodily harm. At the trial last month, Franco's lawyer argued that the intoxicated man had squared up to punch the officer, but Justice David Gibson disagreed with that suggestion, and in rendering his verdict, the judge said Franco acted in a cavalier and provocative manner before punching the man in the face. Franco will return to court in October to set a date for sentencing. City Police will launch an Internal Police Act investigation once the criminal proceedings conclude. Mayor Ken Boshkoff has officially pledged to meet the provincial housing target of 2,200 homes by 2031, putting him in line for strong mayor powers. Boshkoff sent the paperwork to the province this week after a meeting where council showed strong opposition to the move. Council voted 9-4 against the pursuit of strong mayor powers, though Boshkoff didn't require their support to move ahead with it. The powers would go into effect October 31st, granting Boshkoff far more influence over city decisions. That includes passing or vetoing certain bylaws with just 1/3 of council's support, firing or hiring top staffers, and reorganizing city departments. Boshkoff believes strong mayor powers would help propel much-needed housing builds in the city, which he says has already gained interest from developers.
If I don't have a dozen, I have at least 10 pledges from builders saying they're on board and they really want to participate in this. So to me, that was really part of the convincing, saying, okay, these people are keen. We, as a municipality, have to assist in making sure the infrastructure is there to get these things going.
Boshkoff says aside from housing, there are no major changes at this point which he would exercise strong mayor powers for. The mayor goes on to mention when making decisions, he'll ensure council's opinion is still heard. Another day, another significant development at Queen's Park. Ontario's Labour Minister Monty McNaughton has announced that he's stepping away from politics. He becomes the third Ford cabinet minister to resign this month. This comes as the government tries to turn the page on the Greenbelt controversy. Siobhan Morris has the latest details.
He's been one of the most prominent faces of the government.
I, Monty Gary McNaughton.
Now the Minister of Labour is resigning, leaving 12 years of political life for a job in the private sector. Monty McNaughton was key in the re-election of progressive Conservatives, forging bonds with private trade unions. He's the third cabinet minister to quit in under a month.
I'm beginning to wonder whether, in fact, we're going to have anybody left to question on Monday at this rate.
Two other ministers left over the Greenbelt scandal, but McNaughton insists this is a long time coming, writing, "I realize that recent events will cause some to speculate about the reasons for my departure. I want those people to know that my decision is completely unrelated to those events. I support Premier Ford and am proud to have served in his cabinet. I believe strongly in his team and its vision." David Piccini will take over at Labour, sliding over from Environment. McNaughton's departure comes at a challenging time for the government, trying to get beyond scandal. With an acknowledgement, the Premier broke a promise not to open the Greenbelt for housing.
And for that, I'm very, very sorry.
To try and rebuild trust,
I'll be reversing the changes we made and won't make any changes to the Greenbelt in the future.
but can Ontarians forgive and forget?
We just need more transparency in government in general, and for our leaders to not take the public's intelligence for granted.
Hopefully he'll come to his senses and reverse all his other mistakes as well.
The minister, who shares a desk with the Premier, says he's showing leadership.
He said his motivations were right, but doing the right thing isn't always the right thing to do.
Opposition parties say there are too many unanswered questions to let this go.
How is it that a handful of Premier Ford's friends and fundraisers were set to have an $8.3 billion windfall?
And there are concerns about whether there will be lawsuits, penalties for backtracking.
Certainly hope this doesn't result in Ontarians having to pay out further for this Premier and this government's lies and mistakes.
The Premier says the housing minister is looking into what's next.
That was Siobhan Morris. Ontario has reached a tentative agreement with 3,500 education workers represented by the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario. The deal hasn't yet been reached for ETFO's 80,000 teachers. Beth McDonald reports.
It's a new school year, and at elementary schools across Ontario, many parents are looking forward to uninterrupted class time.
It's very important because it's good for the children if they go to school. If they one day go, one day stay at home, is not good.
A smooth September is looking brighter as ETFO, the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario, representing 3,500 education workers, has reached a tentative 4-year deal with the provincial government.
This demonstrates progress, that we can work together to put our kids first, and we're going to continue to be relentless in ensuring we land deals that protect the in-person learning experience for kids.
Among workers included under this agreement are early childhood educators and professional support personnel in kindergarten programs at public and Catholic schools. ETFO says they are some of the lowest income earners, making under $50,000 a year. And this deal is good news, says its president, Karen Brown.
Issues around compensation were key. but also issues around working conditions, issues around violence, supports for students.
Last fall, 55,000 striking education workers with CUPE's Ontario School Board Council of Unions shut down schools in a fight over better pay and staffing issues. Educational assistants, custodians, and more garnered a $1 flat rate hourly increase, around a 3.9% raise annually.
I think they laid a foundation that education workers are frustrated, that they're ready to stand up for their collective bargaining rights.
The tentative agreement with ETFO follows an agreement reached with the Ontario Council of Educational Workers and a 4-year tentative agreement this August with teachers and education workers with the Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation.
That was Beth McDonald. Thunder Bay Police's anti-gang and anti-drug initiative called Dear Self has reached its next phase. Local high school students were invited earlier this year to create pieces of art to express themselves, and now the citywide art contest is on display at the Thunder Bay Art Gallery. Jessica Clement has the details.
Local high school students were honored this week for their participation in the Dear Self contest, which was part of the Thunder Bay Police's Dear Self video series and Dear Self tour from earlier this year.
We were looking at trying to do things to prevent youth from getting involved in gangs. That project developed over time, where we looked at putting together and doing something unique with regards to the way we present to youth.
Police ended up collaborating with motivational speaker Wally Shaw and addiction success story Kyle Arnold for the video series and tour, where they presented at all the local high schools, sharing messages of resilience, empowerment, and the importance of living one's best life. At the end of the presentation, students were challenged to enter a citywide contest to channel the theme into artwork.
And we thought, what a better way to get the youth involved in thinking about that and looking at their experiences through their eyes.
In total, 33 students from 3 schools entered the contest, which was broken down into 3 categories: written, digital, and physical. All art pieces were put on display at the Thunder Bay Art Gallery, and all participants were invited to an awards ceremony in recognition for all their hard work.
When we did the presentations to all the schools, we really didn't know what to expect in terms of how well it would be retained. But when I was going around and reading the artist's abstract for what the students had created, I was very impressed with what they were coming up with and why they were doing it.
Westgate students Jordan Simpson and Aubrey Hamilton both created physical art submissions after being encouraged by their art teacher. They say art has allowed them to not only express themselves, but also reflect on who they are.
It means more to me just like a lot of self-reflection and to see who I really am. And I like expressing myself through writing, artwork, speaking, and this gave me a chance to just express myself.
For myself, it's more of a self-confidence. Like to do this project, it gave me a lot of self-confidence. To talk to myself, I feel like I need a lot of confidence to address myself, you know?
To show who you are as well.
They add that it was inspiring to see the artwork created by their peers and other teens in the city.
I really like the way people, how they express themselves differently according to the guidelines of this project. And it's very interesting to see how people present themselves in their artwork.
Yeah, and it's cool how everyone expresses themselves different, and to see that in artwork, you can really see it more. It's cool.
The exhibit will be on display until October 1st. Jessica Clement, TBT News.
New ownership has been announced for the local Bay's Meat Butcher Shop. Martin Falls First Nation is now the majority owner, opening new doors and opportunities for Indigenous people in Thunder Bay. The popular business has been located on Bay Street for around 60 years. The purchase took effect on August 1st, and officials from Martin Falls made the announcement this afternoon. The First Nation now has a 51% ownership stake, with Chief Bruce Achdi-Peneshkam at the helm of all of it. Previous co-owner Cindy Sallow sold her share, while Bruce Krupp and Kari Sipola will retain minority ownership. With Krupp's background as Métis, Bay Meats is now 90% Indigenous owned. Sipola says this move is very important for the Indigenous communities heading forward.
It's another way to keep people employed in the community. It's money coming in from, we sell all across the province, so that's money that will ultimately go back to the First Nation. Lots of learning opportunities. I think it's just a great thing, and First Nations are really important to all of us in Northern Ontario. So
this is a strategic move on our part, Martin Falls First Nation, to acquire this really important business, food service, in the local community, but also in the region. So, we're really excited with this opportunity to move on it and expand it in your future.
There was also a reception and open house regarding the purchase today in the Martin Falls First Nations sub-office. Thunder Bay children and other residents will have to wait another 7 months to enjoy a new playground at Vickers Park. The $1 million project was originally slated for fall of 2023 completion date, but the new playground equipment isn't set to arrive for a distributor until November. City Parks planner Werner Schwarz says that will be too late in the season to install the park's poured rubber surface, which must be done in temperatures over 10 Celsius. City Council awarded the contract to Manitoba-based Playgrounds R Us, the same company that built the new Boulevard Lake Playground. The Vickers Park project also includes new benches, adult fitness equipment, and walkway improvements. The construction is now expected to launch after the May long weekend and should be completed sometime in June. Well, Fiona, it is the last official day of summer, and even though it was fairly warm, tough start to the day.
Yeah, if you weren't near a window, you might not have seen the thunder, the lightning, the heavy rain, the hail that started the day for most of us, but you might have heard it. It got very loud, but afterwards we got a little bit of everything. We got a lot of cloud, we got a few sunny periods, and we warmed up to a high of 20. No humidex, all that rain just cut out a lot of the humidity from the air, but we did reach temperatures a good 4 or 5 degrees above normal for this time of year. Winds were from the east 11 to 15 kilometers per hour. To the west, Fort Frances had some rainy periods. They're currently mostly cloudy and 19. Similar temperatures as you move into Kenora and Dryden and Red Lake. Now, Red Lake was mostly cloudy for much of the day. They're right now seeing a little bit of a break in the skies, so they're getting a little bit of sunshine coming through. Eastward, we're hitting 14 in Armstrong at this hour, 16 in Greenstone. They had a lot of cloud and a couple of showers this afternoon. Along the North Shore, it's a little bit milder at 18 for both Nipigon and Marathon. And Sault Ste. Marie, hot and sticky. Temperatures hit a high of, I believe, 24, 25, but the humidex hit 31. Right now, the humidex is sitting a little closer to 30, but they've got lots of sunshine, so it's a very warm evening ahead. Here in the city of Thunder Bay tonight, we are looking at another warm and muggy night, a low of 15 with a lot of low cloud and mist that could turn into morning fog once again. Now, we're keeping an eye on this system, which thus far is staying for the most part to the south of the international border, but it could start to push up a little bit further. It depends on how far this cool air sinks down from the north. That's going to keep temperatures cooler and drier. This is a lot warmer and damper, and those two systems are going to be battling it out just above us for Saturday, but after that, things are looking quite sunny, and I'll have more details later on in the news hour.
Thanks, Fiona. Well, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky made a trip to Canada, and we'll tell you exactly what he said at Parliament when we return.
Russia's destruction of Mariupol, of Volnovakha, or Bakhmut, or any other city or village in Ukraine must not go unpunished.